Welcome back, everybody. I have Derek Morton here with me from NetGain Property Management, broker and owner of NetGain. Derek, thanks so much for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
All right, so just give us, put your whatever, how many last 20 years in like 5 minutes. Like, give us how'd you start the property management firm? How many doors do you have? What kind of units, all that good stuff.
So it's everyone has their cool origin story. I don't know if mine's very cool. We just kind of stumbled across it. I was in the title industry. That's what I was raised. My mom had been in it, and I started from a runner and became a licensed title officer and escrow officer, and then went to marketing. And I just kind of felt like I'd plateaued there with that company, as great as it was. And I was just like, let's look at something else. And so I had a real estate agent buddy of mine that for years had tried to convince me to do a real estate brokerage. And I'm like, I hate transactional real estate. Why would I do that? And after about a year of discussion, we kind of settled on, hey, what if we did property management? We were looking at the property management companies in the area that I'm in Southern Utah. And we're just like, I think we can do things a little bit better. So we kind of put things in motion. And a year later, we were able to start NetGain, and we've
What
grown
year
to
was that?
650 units. What was that?
What year was that when you started NetGain?
2016. So we're 9 years in July 1st. So
Sorry.
coming up on 9 years, which is crazy. And we've grown to 650 units, and as of January 1, we're now statewide. So we joke around. There's a lot of the companies from northern Utah that are trying to like come down to southern Utah, and I'm like, I did the opposite. I started in southern Utah, and now I'm like making the leap up there to give them a good fight. And it's been a lot of fun. It's been a crazy adventure as it always is with property management. And I tell everyone, when I hire them, I said, I can't promise you that you're going to like it. Can't promise you you're going to like me. Can't promise you like the only thing I can promise you is you're going to have better stories than all your friends.
And
And
you'll get thicker skin.
without fail, about a weekend, they're all like, you undersold that aspect for me. Like these stories are insane.
So you're doing title work, and you knew you didn't want to do transactional real estate, which is kind of interesting. And so you did some homework and literally
Yeah.
chose property management.
Yeah. This is where I get in trouble. All my real estate friends hate me when I say this. I said, I struggle dealing with real estate agents, like especially on the title side.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
And so everyone's like, you would much rather deal with tenants than real estate agents. And I'm like, yeah, like hands down. Like, I'm like, it's easier to deal with. Like, as crazy as it is, like some of the stories and stuff that they have and things you have to deal with them. Like, it's so much easier to deal with tenants than real estate agents. So
What's the unit breakdown? Is it mainly single family? Is it multifamily? A combination of the two?
I've I've got a mix. So I'm like 25%. Well, actually, sorry, it's 30% single family, 30% multifamily, and then 25% student housing. And then the other 15% is just kind of little mix of everything else, some rentals and all of that. So we run the gambit. I just don't do HOAs and commercial and vacation rentals. So
Man, you do run the gamut. All right. So talk to me about you were in Southern Utah, you were happy in Southern Utah, and then you were kind of forced to go to Northern Utah. So tell me about like what kind of prompted you, and then what was the game plan? Like what was the plan on growing, into different markets?
Um, so yeah, they basically like as I was telling you, they told me, hey, it's no longer if you're gonna go up to northern Utah, it's you have to.
These are clients of yours.
And yeah, these are clients, and so I'm like, okay. And so like it was March of last year that they had that conversation, and I told them, okay, give me some time, and we were looking to expand into Washington County, which is 45 minutes south. And my original plan is like, hey, we're going to go to Washington County first. It'll be easier for us. And then late this year, we'll make the leap to Northern Utah. And that was kind of the plan. And as the year went on, like I just kind of had to figure out processes. And as we were talking, part of that, I hired a coach, Jason Hull, with DoorGrow. Huge props to them. and just sat down with my staff and figured out logistics. And it took a lot of time for me up north, meeting with vendors and walking the properties I was going to be taking on and figuring out. And I the same, one of the best things that happened is I texted my brother because he was a tile setter, and he handyman or something up there. Like, how am I going to do this? And he kind of looked at me. He's like, "Well, if you pay my rent in this building, like I can help you with whatever." And I'm like, "That's cheaper than hiring someone." So my brother helps me up there, and that's right now is we're for with the 30 units we've got between Utah and Salt Lake counties. I pay his rent in a building in downtown Salt Lake. And he does all our move in and move out inspections, and so that was one of the missing pieces. And then we've just spent time just finding vendors and developing relationships with people, and we've been up there now, 5 full months trying to going through some of the hurdles and learning and ready to kind of make another big jump up there. But I mean, my wheelhouse is more like, how do we, I can make it grow and develop relationships and marketing and make us look good. But the logistics behind it, that's all the girls in my office. And I was way out of my wheelhouse, and we just kind of put it all together and have learned as we've gone. We had a few mistakes that we learned early on and correcting them, but it's been going pretty smooth. So
So all of the back office work is still done in southern Utah. You just have your brother
mhm.
doing the inspections, so to speak. What about the
Yep.
showings? Do you have self showing or using agents?
My brother can help out after hours, but we use Show Mojo, and so we just use the self showings. We invest in just tons of technology. That's the only way we can make it happen. I mean, I have 3 full-time employees, and we're running 650 units, and then I have a virtual assistant that helps out with some of the just remedial tasks. But I mean, that's a pretty slim staff for the units that we're running and the territory we cover, and it's the technology we invest in.
I'm just like three full-time staff, one virtual team member for 600 plus units.
Uh-huh.
That's insanity, man. That is insanity.
I It is. I didn't realize, like, I'm just like, hey, yeah, we're doing this, and I'm gonna make another hire here probably in the next couple months, and we're just trying to figure out where we make that and what we have them do. But I mean, the technology, look at the way it's going with the rise of AI, and just some of the things that's simplifying for us. I mean, we could go through the tech stack if you wanted, but like but it's
But
it's
yeah,
it's
let's
incredible. Like that
let's
secret.
kind of do that. Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that. So, do you have field techs or kind of like like kind of like your brother? Do you have anybody in Southern Utah on staff, or do you 1099 that out, or do you use a third
So
party?
so the girls in my office, we have Julia that'll do all the showings for us. And then I chip in and help with showings and move out inspections as needed, and all that. But like, when you look at our techs, I use Appfolio as our main hub,
Okay.
and you look at the stuff they're doing with RealmX and the AI. And I don't use it to its full capacity. We're slowly but surely getting there. Um, and it's amazing, and what that's allowed us to do, and that's the main hub. And then when Appfolio has had a reputation of not necessarily being able to play nice with others, and it's deserved. But then when they came out with the stack, like, that opened up all these other things, because the issue with a lot of technology is making sure everything communicates
Right.
correctly.
Hmm.
And so that you're not having 10,000 screens and my information's here for this, and then I got to go here for this, and then I got to go here for this. So the first thing that we added once Appfolio had the stack was property meld.
Okay.
And so with property meld, like, the data that we're able to get from that is was game changing. I was trying to use the maintenance within Appfolio, and I, like, honestly, I felt like I was giving not even F plus service, like, stuff. We just, like, the follow up, we couldn't stuff, and I'm like, we are sucking. And with property meld, the way it's set up, and then with their max rollout, it's a little AI that's been able to troubleshoot about 10% of our work orders and be able to have the tenant help solve them. And then even if they're not able to solve them themselves, like the level of detail that we get, our vendors are able to solve the problem quicker, and so it saves time and money for the owners on with that troubleshooting. My favorite thing is the data, so we know we're on average completion 3 days within the 3 years that we've been using it. Our tenant satisfaction is 4.5, which is awesome with maintenance. When you look and compare that, I'm like, sweet, like here's what it is. And then where the some of the power comes from that is like when we have vendors, like we'll have handyman, like, hey, we'd love to do more business with you, and I can't blame them. We run 200 work orders a month, like it's an insane number. And so when we're running these work orders, I'm like, hey, handyman A, I'd love to send you more business. Like, let's look at the numbers. So I'm like, hey, you're rated a 4.0, which is awesome. Like if you're over a 4, and even if it's a little before, I look and I'm like, oh, we sent you to that tenant. There was nothing that you were going to do. Like she rated you at 2, and you're like, I'm like, that's the highest rating. So that's not on you. Like that's,
Right.
you got a 2, you hit that one out of the ballpark, but you're rated a 4 and you're taking 7 days to complete it. This other vendor's a 4.7 and taking 2 days to complete it. Who would you use? And they go, oh. And so now when we're able to, like, all of a sudden vendor B is getting stuff done a little bit quicker because they know that's the ticket. You look with the communication and stuff with the owners that they have, and their owner hub and some of the things they're able to do there, like is unbelievable.
And
And then
who's running your coordination? Do you have one person in the office, or is it each property manager has their own portfolio? How does that work?
so we really were we're an open source kind of office, and so my office manager Shauna runs the vast majority of the maintenance. But we all can jump in. Like the stuff for up north, where I took that on, I'll facilitate a lot of that, or I've let the girls know, like, hey, this is who we use up there, and they can run it. Um, and that's been huge. So they just oversee it, and we're able to communicate, and we have like real live data. Like if someone's scheduled with the tenant, we know that, and so if anyone has any questions, the owner, here we go. The tenants are able to upload pictures, and the owners or the vendors are able to upload pictures, and so it's made our life so much easier. And so that's how we facilitate,
You
200
have
work orders.
you have a lot of challenges with owners approving, like you above the threshold or anything like that. How do you get around that? Because that's usually a big time suck and it usually prevents tickets from getting done in a timely fashion.
We, I One of the biggest mistakes when I started is I would take any owner on because you want to grow, right?
Yep.
And so I've become more choosy. And so when we look at an owner, like just as much as they're interviewing us, I'm interviewing them.
Okay.
And here's the expectations. Here's what it is. And a lot of them, like, yeah, on these larger ones, you're going to be part of the conversation. Um, but most of the time, because we have all these pictures and we have everything documented, it's tough to argue that, hey, it's time to do a new HVAC unit. And when it comes to that point, usually we've done a couple of band-aids and stuff. You're like, this is the third time. Like it's time. And
Any
and so
policies? I'll say,
what was that?
do you have any policies in place where it's like after, like, if it's, you know, over X amount of dollars, we're going to go ahead and just go and get like a second or even a third quote, or do you just take the one quote? Hey, this is a guy we trust. This is what
We
it is.
um we run enough business that we know the people we use are going to be cheaper, and or I shouldn't say cheaper, that they're going to give you the best bang for the buck.
Okay.
And we can talk about that. We're like, hey, this is the 100th work order that we've sent this HVAC person in the last 3 months. They're awesome. And they're like, oh, okay. As opposed to sometimes you're like, hey, I got this other bid from this person. I just don't know them. And it's taken the 9 years to really just hone in on some of these vendors. And you're always turning over because you can have a handyman that'll be doing really, really good for a while. And then for whatever
Prices
reason, just,
increase, is this
yeah,
response
just
time
not as good.
decreases.
And so you have to figure it out. Like, so we're always like, we'll have our plan A. And then we tell people when we're sometimes interviewing vendors, like, you're a plan B, you're RC. I know that's going to sound insulting to you, but that's that's plan 1A really in our life because you just never know. Someone can't get out there. And so it's like, here you go. Here's your time to shine. Um,
And I like what
and
you said.
so that's,
I like
yeah. And
I'll say you kind of glossed over it, but you said you use data. Because you're using Meld, you have the data on the type of vendor that you have. So you're actually giving data to the owner in this case, saying, "Hey, we're using this guy. This is how many work orders he's done. This is his
mhm.
rating." So it allows them to have some information and be like, so you probably get more approvals quicker with the data behind you than if you didn't have any data.
Yeah, and choosing the right owners. Like that's the secret. That's what no one talks about when they start a property management company. Well, there's two things. One, I never realized I was going to be on the front lines of all societal ills. I just didn't realize that. Like anything that you see, like in society, we deal with on a day-to-day basis. Never fully understood that. Two, you can be as good as you want, but if you have crappy owners that you're working for,
Yep.
you are going to be a crappy property manager.
You're going to be in the middle of a lawsuit at some point.
Yeah, like you just, and so once I learned that, and we've cleaned out some of our owners, and some of those owners have cleaned us out because we just don't work, right?
Yep.
As I've gotten more choosy, like the quality of properties we manage have gone up.
Mhm.
The quality of the owners um, that we're able to track because of that has gone up. And it's really powerful when, an owner's like, hey, I would like to use you. And you're like, that's cool, but I just don't know if it'll be a fit. I'm like, no, but you're rated so high and you do all these cool things. And I'm like, that's because I'm really picky on the owners. And these are the policies I have in place. This is what works. So like I'm not willing to negotiate on this. For us to be able to do what we need to do, like this is what it requires. And
So
so then they
take me
could
through
choose.
that. When you're onboarding an owner, do you still do all the onboarding yourself or do you have BDMs now?
I do it all myself.
Okay. So this
So
allows you, because obviously if you were a BDM and you got paid on commission on bringing more owners, you probably wouldn't be as steadfast as who you're bringing on. But what are the questions? Like, how do you know if an owner's not going to be a good owner? What are some of the things that they say or do?
I talk a lot about the property. And then I always ask, like, hey, what do you think the rent's going to be? What is your anticipation there? And if I'm like, hey, the market shows that this rent, we're, in Southern Utah, it's a little lower rent. So I'm going to throw out this number and you're going to be like, holy cow. We'll say, hey, the rent should, I've rented 5 other units similar in the last 3 months that are $1,500 a month. And they're like, I think it should be 1,800. And you start to have that conversation about what reality is and those expectations. The way they respond to that tells a lot. If they're like, well, I need 1,800, and I'm going to be like, that's too big of a stretch. You still may be able to get it. Someone else may be able to get it, but I've rented 5. And then here's my experience. Usually, if we go that far above, because I've done it and somehow we've been able to make it work, that tenant is cash poor and they're stretched. So they have more difficulty being able to pay rent on time, which is what no one wants to deal with. Two, um, if they're paying above market rent and they know it, they have above market expectations, which is 100% fair. So their patience level, if something goes wrong on that property,
Right.
is going to be a lot less than if you have someone that's right at or just below market rent. They're usually like, okay, no problem. Especially if they know they're below market rent, like they don't want to tick you off because they don't want to lose it because they're like, I know,
Yeah.
like, you know what I mean? But if someone's paying above, they're like, I am paying above market rent. And so these are the expectations. And so every time I've done that, even if I was somehow able to get that rented, like it's been some of the worst experiences I've had. Whereas, I mean, if I've rented 5 at say 1,500 and they're like, could we meet at 1,600? And I can be like, that's reasonable. I can see where you're at and we can give it a try. And then this is going to the rest of the tech stack. So this is the beauty. So I use ShowMojo. The amount of data that they have, that's the one software I've ever onboarded that gave me more than what they told me they could do.
Interesting. Okay.
Like it was awesome. So now, like, and it's just through my portfolio, but I've been on it with almost 2 years now, and I can go quarter over quarter. So I can go, hey, 3 bedroom, 2.5 townhome, that's going to be 1550, and you're going to be 34 days on the market. And they go, oh, like, where did you get that? Oh, look, here's this graph. And look, over and over. Okay, rents are dropping. Here's this. And it makes me sound way more legit than I look and am. Like, I'm kind of a goofball. You realize my personality is like, here's what it is. But those numbers, like, legitimate. I like, here what it is. And everyone's like, oh, yeah, I want that property. So I'll charge 1,800. And I'm like, no, I don't want to waste my time. Like, I don't. That property is going to sit on the market for way too long, make me look bad. And by the time we drop and you come reasonable, everyone's going to be like, what's wrong with that property? Someone die there? Like, why does no one want to rent that property?
Right.
So at the scale that we're running, I can't afford to waste my time. So we're going to be reasonable. We're going to have these conversations. And then we walk through our maintenance process. And if they're going, hey, I need to approve everything. And I'm going to be like, we have a $500 that you basically give us a power attorney. Anything below $500, we're going to get this done. That doesn't work for me. Cool, that doesn't work for me. I run 200 work orders. Maintenance is one of the big issues that stop people from renewing. And if we're not getting this done in a timely manner, like, they're not going to renew. And I'm going to have the negative review, which means no one's going to want to rent from me because you decided you needed to have say. You're going to trust me to do my job or not. And so with that 500, and I'm like, here's the communication you get. You're going to get communication from Meld when a work order is submitted. You're going to get, when it's scheduled, you're going to get that. And then when we upload it, we're going to get that. Now, does some things fall through the cracks on occasion? Yeah. Like, we've had $600 or $700 bills that we should have gotten approval on that just spaced. And this is where part of my business plan is I have what's called my problem solving fund. And so if an owner calls them bad, I'm like, you're right. We screwed that up. You should have known. It still needed to be done. That mistake was on us. You should have had every right to approve it. Would you be willing to split that bill with me? So 750, you pay 350, I'll pay 350. And I have that in my monthly budget just to solve those problems.
Right.
And when you go to an owner and you're like, hey, like, they're like, oh, you're going to do that to me? Where most property managers are sitting there going to fight, like, that's your bill. And it is, but I failed my part.
Right.
Like, I needed to communicate that. So if I fail, like, I should come to the table with something. Does it have to be the whole thing? Could it be like, I will pay 250 because we have approval up to 500. Right. I just usually I'm just go half because it just works. And so all these conversations is I go, here's my processes. And it's either going to work or it's not. And I'm good either way. And that's the beauty of being 650 units. I'm like, I would love to have you. Like, you seem like you're a great person, but it needs to work for me.
Yeah. What about where do you fall on home warranties?
Oh,
So let me.
you said no loaded questions. No. So the problem with home warranties is, as a property management company, you lose control.
100%.
Because at that point in time, you are
built for homeowners. And if an AC's out, it might take them 3 weeks to fix it. And I mean, I'm sure I don't know what Utah property code is, but in Texas, I got about 7 days to fix that thing.
And so, like, it's just that's the hardest part with home warranties. They're worth their money, like, they really are. But as a property manager, I personally hate them because they never get it fixed in time. And I have to give a rent credit to make the tenant happy. And then the owner's usually kind of frustrated. Well, I have a warranty. Yeah, they took 3 weeks. And half the time they don't communicate with us or the owner, and it just gets done, and they don't communicate with the tenant. So they just randomly show up, and it's always when someone's getting out of the shower. I don't know why it is. You laugh because you know it's true.
I was just
like,
thinking,
they're always getting out of the shower.
The AC broke on Friday at 5 o'clock in the evening. And when they do come, somebody's in the shower and they missed them. Right. And then when they finally do get there and they review it, 80% of the time it's not covered.
That's the other thing. That's the other thing. So yeah, you know,
So
or it's like a
let's switch gears.
1975 dishwasher that's like, oh, we have to, this part is on back order
Yeah,
because we don't want to pay for a whole new dishwasher. Or we're going
that's
to pay
right.
$400 for this part to ship and be handmade by the caveman that originally built it.
It's only made by the
And,
Amish,
you know,
right?
instead of paying
Only the Amish.
$500 for a new dishwasher. That is 100% correct. Oh,
All right.
and rant on home warranties.
All right. So obviously, the rent amount and maintenance is probably two of the biggest challenges when you're selecting an owner. I'm guessing the third challenge is if they want approval on the applicant. So let's kind of make switch over to the resident side. So I'm guessing you kind of give them your process on we're not going to allow you to have final say of an applicant. This is how we run things, blah, blah, blah. Um, Curious, this is kind of out of left field, but how do you guys run your application? Do you do first come, first serve, or do you do best application?
It's first come, first serve. You know, the first qualified applicant, that's who we take.
Yep.
Um, and so that's, you know, it's the easiest way. Here's what it is. They were the first qualified applicants. Boom, they meet our criteria, move on.
I'm a
You
big
know,
fan
and
of
then
that.
if the ones that come after them, we can be like, hey, we have these other units, like, you
So
know, available. Would any of these work for you? And you know,
yeah, I'm a big fan of first come, first serve as well. And I've had debates on first come, first serve versus best application. And I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole, but I just don't want anything to do with fair housing. I don't want the government on me in any way possible. So first come, first serve was good for me. Now let's talk
well, and
about
how do you like? Here's the thing. Like, here's I've had people that are like, hey, best applicant for who? Like, I've had just as much trouble with someone with an 800 credit score that's made 120,000 a year as I have with someone coming directly out of homelessness. In fact, sometimes like when you look at it, like the lower end of requirements, there've been better tenants and longer serving tenants and minimize turnover, and they still take care of the property. And you know, whereas some of those higher ones, like, so I laugh, like, what's the best one? Like, I don't, I that's why I have these basic requirements. I can't choose what's best for that house, you know, and what's best for that owner. You know, occasionally I'm like, this is not going to end well because they first come, first serve. And I'm like, this tenant with this owner, I can feel it.
yeah.
But
Well,
this is the law.
you said earlier
Warehousing.
you said earlier we deal with all societal issues, right? I mean, the application is the big part of it. You know, let's just say you take best applicant and the person you don't take happens to have some kind of ailment that we didn't even know, but next thing you know, you have a fair housing claim because, they have some kind of disability or something. And next
Mm-hmm.
thing you know, you're like, you got to defend yourself. So I like the first come
Yeah.
first serve, date stamped, time stamped. Here's the qualifications. Boom, you're stamped. You go in, and the next person. I don't even run the application on the second person, and I run the first one, and if it's not approved, then
Yep.
I run the second one, because the biggest challenge is people they're applying to two, three, four places. Each application might cost 50 to 75 to $125. Gets kind of expensive for them. So you
Yeah.
want to make sure that some people say, well, it's a profit center. I'm like, if that's your profit center, man, you're running your business wrong. It's kind of the way I think.
That's, God bless you for saying that. Preach that louder to the people in the back. Like, it's, yeah, if you're relying upon your 40, $50, application fees, yours are a little higher. I'm only $50. But if that's your margin, you are running your business wrong and you have much greater issues.
Agreed. But let's talk a little bit about what are some of the things that you guys do over there at Netgear to make your properties a little bit incentivization, I guess, to get your properties rented before the competition.
So we did one of the things that's helped, and um, we made kind of a drastic move during COVID. We looked and
Hold
with
on,
so
Derek.
many people
Can you
and investors selling their units because
let's start that over for me if you don't mind. That thought process, because you got garbled
no
up there.
problem. So so during COVID,
Mhm.
we made kind of a counterintuitive move. Um, because, kind of the reality of what people were dealing with and the realities of the situation. And one thing that I've learned, and I tried to run my business, is we deal with reality, not.
Sorry, I lost you. Are you there?
Yep, I'm here.
All right, I think I'm still recording. Yep. All right, start that one more time. The third time's a charm.
All right. There, yep, we see. We'll see. I hate
And
technology
if it fails
sometimes.
after three times, I am going to blame you. Teasing.
That's fair, and I will own it, and I will take responsibility for it. And I'll say that I warned you, and you didn't believe me. Um, so one of the big things that we did um, is during COVID, um, like there was a lot of things going on outside of just COVID, and just a million things going on in housing. And one of the best uh, pieces of advice I ever got is to live in reality, not what you think should be. Now, you can push towards what you would love to see things be, but you're always going to be better off dealing with reality and adjusting to the reality at hand, right? So during COVID, like everywhere else in the country, we saw rents go up way more than income. With that, we also saw a lot of investors selling their investment properties. And so tenants that had planned on being able to stay there that just signed a lease 2 months ago, now all of a sudden having to find a new place to live. Because the investor's like, holy crap, I can get this much out of it. I might as well just sell and cash out. And nothing wrong with that. That's their property and all that. But this is the reality we had to deal with. And so I had to make a couple decisions that I was looking at because first and foremost, we work to protect the owner's investment. Like that's what we're hired to do.
That's right. That's our
And
fiduciary.
so looking at the reality mhm, and looking at the what we were dealing with, I'm like, people can't make three times to rent. It's going up too fast. And so we talked it over with my staff at the time and we decided to be crazy. And step one is we dropped our rent to income requirements from 3x to 2x. And that's still our standard.
Really?
We balance it out. And then we looked at the same to still protect our owner's investment. We dropped from 3x to 2x and then increased our deposit instead of a standard whatever the rent is. So say rent's 1,500, the deposit was 1,500 unless like you needed to require double deposit. We changed our deposit from 1x to 1.5x. So we could still protect the owner from that higher, from a little bit higher risk, and they're protected. But then all of a sudden, I'm like, crap, that's a large deposit to come up with. And
Yep.
so we were looking at the same time as I was putting this puzzle piece together, going and discover security deposit alternatives. So there's two deposit alternatives, companies that I use and I love, and they both serve different purposes. Um, and so the first one's Obligo. They are integrated with AppFolio, which is awesome. So that works. They pay 10 to 50% of the deposit a year, and that's their fee. Obligo verifies to make sure they have the deposit amount in their account. So if we're requiring it 1,500, it's 2,250 for the deposit. They verify that they have that money in the account, and so they would pay $225 a year. And then when I move out, we do all the disposition and all the charges and stuff, and then Obligo pulls that money from their account and gets it to us like within 24 hours. And so now the owner or the tenant, instead of having to come up with 2250, and then we have all these debates and stuff at move out. So say we've only used $1,000 of it, and they've stayed for a year. So they've paid now $1,250. They got to keep their money, and they got to keep like well, they could use whatever it is. That's not on my money that I'm having to hold in the trust account. They can use that however, and and now they've only paid $1,250 in total, as opposed to the $2,250. The other one that I use is LeaseGuard, and that's an insurance product. So just like they pay a monthly insurance premium. So in this case, I think it's like $55 a month that they would pay. So same thing. So if they stay a year, they have protection up to $2,250 for a $1,500 rent, and at $55, they're paying $660 or something like that. I can't do math in my head very well, but
Yeah,
they're
but
protected.
they're
So at
also
that
paying
point,
it over
even if
12
they had,
months. They don't have to
mm-hmm,
they don't have to
yep,
come up with it at month one. They're paying it over 12 months. So it's a lot easier to come up with.
yep, and most of the way these are set up and stuff, so they've now only paid $600. They've stayed there for a year. Now it's non-refundable, which is some struggle with, but they've only paid $600 and they had protection up to 2,250. So even if there's $2,000 worth of damage, I make that claim. The tenant's only out $600. And so it's allowed us to find that balance and adjust to the reality of the situation that we're living in. Because even now, rents are still way higher than what incomes can afford. But
Mhm.
yet, as an industry, we still go, hey, we need this 3x
Right. Or now,
without adjusting,
have you
realizing
seen evictions go up? I mean, obviously not because you're still doing the 2x, but
the evictions that we've seen are when I've made exceptions to my policy.
no good deed goes unpunished.
When you're like, I need this place rented, I know the situation, I'm taking a risk, and you come back and just get punched in the face. Like those we've had. I'm in the process of actually I'm going to do a study from when we started. I'm working with a university professor because I'm curious because like I know anecdotally it still feels good, but I'm also like have our deposits like the amount that we're claiming gone up on these compared to before? Like so I'm trying to still just figure it out because like when I was small, I didn't care about data. I hated data, but now that I'm larger, I'm like, I've got good data. Like this is powerful stuff, right? I
Mhm.
don't live my life by data, but it can really help inform and stuff. So that's what's fascinating, and that's where some of these conversations in the industry like are important to have as we look and go, homelessness is on the rise, rents are up. You look at the rise of medical debt,
Home
which means
purchases are
credit scores are
down.
going to, what was that?
Home purchases are down.
Home purchases are down, like credit scores are going down. You have all these things. And so, one of the things about this, well, any industry, right? We hate government regulation. And that's one of the things NARPM was like, hey, like, come on, like, give us a shot, right? So one of the ways to avoid that, there's always going to be people that want more regulation. But most people, by and large, if we're able to solve these problems on our own within the industry and show that we're doing it, most people are going to keep their hands off. The beauty of Utah is like it's pretty hands off. We've got regulations, but it's really kind of anti-regulation. And so
Yeah.
if I don't want to see rent control like you see in other places in the country and some of these other just crazy regulations that you have across the country, like I need to figure out how to solve some of these problems within my business, because that's the one thing I can control. That's part of like why I still want to grow is like, look, there's these issues and it's kind of a scientific experiment for me. Like, how do we look to solve these? These are things that we can do as an industry. And I'm small enough that I can still be adaptable, but large enough that I can tell if it's working or not. And
Yeah.
that's what's really fascinating with where I'm at right now. And to be part of those conversations and look and just be like, and I'm wired to where I'm like, I don't really care what the industry does. Like, this is what I think is best. So I'm just going to do it. And then other times I've had to come back and be like, that's why the industry did that because I was an idiot. Like, right. I'll own it. There's some stuff that I've done that I'm like, oh, that makes so much more sense now.
Yeah.
Um, like, but like just to have that and to be able to continue to kind of push and see that, and that's what's fascinating. Like I mean, I know you're pretty familiar with resident benefit packages,
Mhm.
being with NARPM, and it's something I don't have as part of my portfolio right now, and have my tenants do because I just struggle with it as part of it. I think if they called it something different, I would probably do it. But there's really not much benefit to the package. Now, it's a great benefit to the landlord, because we're able to make a little bit more money. Um, and the resident benefit package outside of the credit reporting, like is kind of just help the tenant protect the owner's property, right? And so, like, my dream product is use a resident benefit package that really actually benefits the residents. So you look, credit reporting is essential, and it's stupid that credit reporting is not standard, just like a mortgage and car loans and all that stuff.
Right.
Um, and so, but then you look at the rise of mental health, you look at the rise of just lack of savings. And so if you're able to throw in, say, hey, an accident, an injury policy that can pay up to say 6 grand. So if they have an accident or stuff and out of work for a little bit, because some of these people, I mean, if they're out of work for a week, like
Yeah,
they're going to be on the streets.
yeah. Yeah, they're gonna get evicted. Yep.
So if you're able to get, hey, 6 grand, and here's this, I mean, that's 2 to 3 months worth of rent in most places. Like that gives you time. And then the last is if you're able to come up with some mental health access, like that's massive. And like that's a true kind of resident benefit package. And it shows that us as an industry like are living in reality, right? Which is sometimes what we need to do. We're like, oh, these tenants are getting so much worse. And you're like, why? Well, look at their life. Like, look at the stuff they're dealing with. Like,
Yeah. Financial stress.
and so if you're able to figure some of this stuff out, like it's huge. And I've become a big believer with some of the population that we've worked with, and dealt with, and just, I mean, with so many people. And I think you can relate. Like most of the time, if you're able to get people the resources they need when they need it, whether that's a friend, whether it's a phone call, whether it's financial, whether it's access to mental health or some other medical stuff, like that can be life changing for so many people. Like I look and I'm like, there's 5 points in my life that I'm like, I'm glad that friend intervened, or I'm glad I was able to get that financial assistance to help keep me going. Or else I would be no different than, those people that have fought homelessness and addiction and all that. Like there's just these moments, and we fail to recognize that when we're interacting with our tenants, that if someone gets evicted, I mean, and I still evict, like we have to enforce the lease.
Right.
Like, I mean, that's difficult to come back from. And so the more we can do on the front end and try to figure out how to prevent and work with them, it goes a long way to protect the owner's investment, them as and as a society as a whole. Because stability in housing is one of the greatest indicators and things, so many things, and childhood welfare, and even with adults.
Man, I feel like this is a whole other conversation that we can literally just open up and start having, but we are up against it. So I am going to hit a commercial break real quick, and then we're going to put you on the lightning round. We'll be right back after this, everybody. All right, welcome back. All right, Derek, we're going to put you on the lightning round. You actually answered a bunch of questions in the lightning round during our interview. So this is going to be an abbreviated one. All right, you ready? Here we go. What is one piece of advice you would give someone who,
I'm ready.
all right, you ready? All right. What is one piece of advice you would give someone
I'm
just
ready.
starting out in the PM business?
Choose the right owners,
All right, I love it.
hands down. Choose the right owners.
What was your first job?
I laid carpet in high school. That's why I realized manual labor is not for me.
Does pineapple belong on pizza?
I'm 50-50. If it's Canadian bacon and pine and pepperoni, I can handle it. If it's anything else outside of that, it doesn't belong.
As long as it has Canadian bacon, pineapple sausage, and then you can take the pineapple off.
There you go. There you go.
Uh, what is something that most people don't know about you?
I am a world champion Dodge juggler. That's a story for another day. We'll leave them hanging on that one.
A world champion. Did you say Dodge juggler?
Dodge juggle. So there was me and my son discovered it, and when I used to run the state's largest dodgeball tournament, and so I went to recruit, try to find more dodgeball teams, and we went to this dodgeball tournament in Vegas. And it turned out like the way they were hosting it, it was part of what's called Moxie Games, and the guy that ran it, like it has all these weird events that they would do, and that he would farm this out then to ESPN for their Ocho days.
Yeah.
And so one of them was Dodge Juggle. So there's two aspects of this. One, like they would have these world championship jugglers like just be pelted by these professional dodgeball players while they're juggling. And it was amazing. Then the other part was a mix. So you had to protect the juggler. And so unlike dodgeball where you're trying to avoid being touched, you're trying to protect the juggler. Um, and so I had my team. We had my kids and their friends. So I was four kids and a fat guy. And then there was a team that I can't even remember what they're called that won every year, and they were a
Average
bunch of
Joe's.
coders for the U.S. government. So it was kind of funny. And the guy that they had protecting the juggler got pelted in the face and had to go out. So they recruited me for the finals. And my kids didn't know, so they see me out there. My kids are calling me a traitor, and this is all like it was on live TV, or it wasn't live TV, but ended up on TV. As my kids are like yelling at me, and then I have a picture of me holding the trophy. So I came in as the ringer. I had my Walt Frazier moment, and won a title that I don't have the trophy because the people that actually worked hard to win it kept it. But I have a picture of me with the chat, and I am still a world champion Dodge juggler.
Well, the movie Dodgeball has nothing on this. This is Dodgeball Part Two, the Dodgeball Juggler.
Dude, it's awesome. It's insane to see in person.
Oh man. All right, cats or dogs? What do you prefer?
Lost you on that one.
Cats or dogs? Which ones do you prefer?
I've had both. I currently have two cats. They hate me.
So you love cats, but they don't love you.
Yeah, that's kind of where we're at. It's not a mutual love.
Derek, if somebody wanted to reach out to you and just pick your brain on something, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Best way is just look at our website, netgainpm.com, NETGAIN, PM for propertymanagement.com.
And if you are listening to this and you're not a NARPM member, go to NARPM, narpm.org, or give them a call at 800-782-3452. And if you are looking to hire remote team members, give us give us a try, vpmsolutions.com. And you can email me directly at pete@vpmsolutions.com. Thanks, Derek.
Hey, thanks for having me, Pete. I enjoyed it.